All right, Hannah, I got Gramps. He's going to recollect your conversation this morning and try to recount what he said to you. So I'll give the floor to Gramps.
Well, I hope that I'm able to recall the vital words that I may have covered in our conversation, but as I recall, it was pretty much along a philosophical attitude toward what and how we as individuals can create value and what we want when we have something that has some worth. How do we go ahead and market it into the general world around us? I think as I was talking, I heard you say that you generated all of these songs and played them, or at least they were available in a package on Facebook. And sometimes if they were watched multiple times, why they created value, which could attract someone to want to sponsor the creation of some method by which you can deliver that music to the public. Well, it made me think about the idea that comes to us when we have something new and something different. How do we get enough people to, let's say, create some interest in what we're making, what we're producing, what we're creating, so that other people will want to own it. Will step up and say, "I like that. I want to own that." Well, I remember back in the days when I first started business, the companies that were called venture capital companies at that time were sponsored by some investors. A number of investors, speculators, really venture investors, would come together and look. He says, let's. There's a general train of ideas that in those days that came from Silicon Valley, we'll say. In other words, those companies out of that area, one of which was Sequoia, and that's a company that I was able to invest in due to my association with Capital Guardian Trust Company. And Segovia was owned by a number of big-time investors, and they sought through venture capital method companies that looked like they were going to be attractive, like they were going to be worth something. There were new ideas. They weren't at that time. They weren't the Amazon, Google sort of level of companies, but they were those same two companies were initiated by the people who owned the Sequoia International Investment Company, and so essentially how it would take place is we were given opportunity to put a few dollars into a fund. This is like a mutual fund that would get somewhere around about 40 interests more represented in that fund, and that fund would then buy shares in venture capital companies that they thought were going to do well, like Apple, like Microsoft, like
Yahoo,
and like Google, and anyway, it was there was more concentration at that time, so you had to realize that there a competition between various venture companies who were the investors each one of them were going to have some competition with potential companies like that that were being offered by people. When what I've forgotten his name, but he was a brilliant guy that brought Apple into being. When he started his company back in
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs back in the 1970s, Sequoia invested in 200,000 shares of stock. And I think it was about mid 70s, 1975, somewhere in there. And we at Capital Guardian Trust Company actually formed mutual fund to participate in the success or potential of that company, Apple stock. And so my interest, I just invested a few $1,000s, and my interest as a potential was a relative small, but the venture capital position, which held the shares of Capital Guardian Trust's shareholder interest,
I'll put it on pause.